morning students. Today I am going to continue the chapter Money and Credit. In previous video I explained you about formal arrangements and informal arrangements. In formal arrangements, the credits mainly comprises cooperatives, regional rural banks and commercial banks. Loans given by formal financial institutions are termed as formal sector loans. In informal sector arrangements, to meet the credit requirements, especially of rural people such as farmers and artisans in India, informal arrangements had always occupied an important place. They include moneylender, landlords, traders, relatives and friends. Loans given by these informal lenders are termed as informal sector loan. Now today I will explain you about how Reserve Banks of India do works. So Reserve Bank of India. In India, Reserve Bank of India, that is RBI, supervises, regulates and controls the activities of formal sector financial institutions such as banks and cooperatives. For this purpose, RBI applies various credit control measures. RBI directs the bank to maintain a minimum percentage of their deposits as cash balance and makes changes in it from time to time. Besides this, RBI takes special pains to see that commercial banks give loans not only to profit-making businesses, enterprises, but they also meet the credit requirements of small farmers, small-scale industries and other small borrowers. In this regard, banks are required to submit report to the RBI on how much they are lending, to whom and what rate of interest. On seeing such report, the RBI can direct the banks to amend their policies in the interest of the country. On the other hand, there is no supervising agent which can control the activities of the informal sector. They charge interest rate as high as they wish. There is no one who can stop them to use their unfair means to get their money back. Informal lenders charge much higher interest compared to formal sector. The cost to the borrowers of the informal sector becomes much higher, and a very large part of the earning of the borrower is used in the repayment of loans. Only a very small amount of income is left with the borrowers which they can use for themselves. Not only that, the high interest rate also implies that sometimes the amount to be repaid becomes greater than the income of the borrower. This results in debt trap for the borrower. In such situations, people would not like to start enterprise by borrowing from the informal sector lenders. It is very much required that the share of cooperative societies and banks should increase in the total credit of the country. It will encourage farmers to grow crops and small persons to start a new business. Now next, formal and informal credit in urban areas. Now, in urban area also, people are taking the loan from formal and informal sectors or lenders. Urban borrowers also approach formal and informal sources of credit to meet their credit requirements. The role and place of formal and informal sources is not the same for different categories of borrowers. We divide the urban borrowers into four major categories: poor households, households with a few assets, well-off households, and rich households. The share of formal and informal sources of credit among these categories of urban borrowers sectors which they take loan from formal sector is 90% and only 10% from informal sector. It suggests that the rich households receives loan at cheaper interest rate than the poor households. In rural areas, more than half of the credit needs of the rural people are met by the informal and charge high interest and apply unfair means. It is the need of the hour that the banks and cooperative societies should increase their lending, particularly to the rural people. It will help in reducing the dependence on informal sources and in increasing their earnings. There is a need to increase the share of formal sector lending in the total credit of the country. It should also be taken care of that everyone in the country receives formal sector loans. At present, the richer receives as much as they take loan from the formal sector, while the poor section has to depend largely in the informal sources. The share of poor section should be increased in the formal sector lending. Now, self-help groups, that is SHG. We have seen that the poor households are still largely dependent depend on informal sources of credit to meet their needs. So, bank branches are not present everywhere in rural India. So, this is the reason that while many people are taking the loan from the informal sector, that bank branches are not there. There is a large number of formalities for availing bank credits. Banks generally insist on collateral security which rural poor are not in a position to offer. Informal money lenders know the borrowers personally and are ever ready to advance loans to the rural poor. The interest charged by them is extra, and they even use muscle power to get their loan repaid. In order to overcome the difficulties, rural poor, particularly women, have devised a new way to get money at reasonable terms. They form a group of 10 to 15 members called self-help group, that is SHG. All these members know each other very well and generally belong to one neighborhood. They make a saving of rupees 50 to 150 or more per person as per convenience and pool this amount. Members can take loan from this pool at affordable rate of interest. If the group is regular in its saving, it can approach a bank for availing a loan. Banks do sanction loans in the name of SHG, which is used to generate employment amongst members. Small loans are provided to the members of group for meeting their needs like buying seeds, fertilizers, raw materials, etc. They can also purchase assets like sewing machines, handcrafts, cycle rickshaws, etc. All the members of the group take joint decision like saving and activities to be taken up by loan amount. It is a group which is responsible for making repayment to the bank. The formation of SHGs has opened doors for self-employment to the poor who were earlier denied loan by banks for want of collaterals. The concept has gone a long way in reshaping the lives of the poor who had hardly enough to make both ends meet. Now you have to write question and answer in your fair copy. Why are the poor households still depend on informal sources of credit? How does the RBI supervise the functioning of the banks. What are self-help groups? How do they